Black Kia.
Offers approved Tier 1 or 2 credit for Kia Motors finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1516 for 1,000 power. 4,000 all 2020 euros with 2,500 Kia Motors factory rebate to dealer. 1,500 Matt Black Kia discount. Go to mattblackkianj.com for complete details. Expires 3/4/2021.
Matt Black Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Toms River.
The radio home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, 97.3 ESPN. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Game Night here on 97.3 ESPN, a Tuesday edition of the show. Welcome into the Matt Black Kia Studios. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at 97.3 ESPN, also on the radio at 97.3 ESPN FM, and live on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, and at 97.3 ESPN.com. So in other words, you can consume the show in a multitude of different ways. Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, we will talk Sixers coming up. Sixers tonight at 7:30. Jason Blevins live from Tampa. That's right, Blevins is down in Tampa for this game. Sixers and Raptors here on 97.3 ESPN. Thank you, Mike Gill, for handing me my paperwork that I put so close to the board, but I never brought to this side of the board because I'm a genius like that. Smooth operator over here. Let me tell you something. But yeah, we will get to the Sixers versus the Raptors tonight here on 97.3 ESPN. Also, Claude Giroux back on the ice for the Flyers. Eagles offseason full mode in effect. But before we get to anything else, I do want to give out my thoughts and prayers for Tiger Woods. For anybody who saw the news today, Tiger Woods is hospitalized, currently undergoing surgery after a single car crash. The latest report is that he suffered multiple leg injuries, and he had to have surgery on both legs. It is not life-threatening, but the reports are that it was serious enough that he has to have surgery. So I hope everything's all right with him. Hope everything gets back to normal for him and his life. Back over to the active sports world in terms of people actually playing out there. You know, when you think about also people coming back, obviously one of them is Claude Giroux. Big news today, Claude Giroux back on the ice for the Flyers. You can finally getting some firepower back. And let's be realistic. The reason why, one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons they lost that game in Lake Tahoe was because they just had the firepower. They were playing with defensemen at forward positions. It was an absolute mess in that game. So good news. Claude Giroux is going to come back. Flyers back in action tomorrow night. You can hear it all right here on 97.3 ESPN tomorrow night versus the Rangers. And of course, we will get to the Sixers in just a bit. But before we get to more of the Sixers, I did want to touch on the Eagles because something that Mike Gill brought up that really stuck out to me. And I know I've touched on this before, but I wanted to bring it up again here. And that is, you know, there's a perception of the Eagles that is driven by people who, and I'm just going to be honest with you guys, it doesn't exist in reality. And the part of the problem is that there's so many people who spend so much of their time not in reality. And then they look at the sports world, which is a reflection of reality, and tend to go out there and have these opinions about things like the Philadelphia Eagles. And one of those opinions comes down to Howie Roseman. I'm here to inform you, if you didn't already know, that Howie Roseman is not the hero or the villain of anybody's story. This is not a comic book movie. This is not a sci-fi flick. This is not the Die Hard movies. This is a football team. This attitude that Howie Roseman is the villain, that Howie Roseman can do nothing right, that Howie Roseman is the worst. It's not based in reality. You may not like Howie Roseman. You may not like some of the things that he's done. You may find him and his oversight of this organization as problematic. But it doesn't mean that he is completely void or incapable of doing the job that he has been hired to do. So many times we project our own opinions, our own feelings, and the subjectivity on these things onto people that doesn't really exist. Is it that Howie Roseman is the worst, or is it that we are frustrated with Howie Roseman? Those are two different things. Do not get it twisted. You can dislike the job Howie Roseman has done, but also not hate the guy. There is a level of hate that I would argue that Howie Roseman, the Eagles general manager, is the most hated man in the city of Philadelphia. Period. There's no one close. There is no one in the city of Philadelphia sports that is despised, disliked, and looked down upon the way Howie has been. And there's a variety of reasons why that is the case. And of course, folks, you can chime in at 609-403-0973 on the text board. All of you watching the stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you comment there as well. The hate for Howie Roseman is intensely irrational. You can dislike somebody without having this visceral hate for them. Howie Roseman has never committed he's never committed a felony. All right. He's never been accused of sexual harassment or domestic violence or any despicable crime you can think of. But yet we act like he is the worst of the worst because he has a high-pitched voice. He looks like a boy. And what else? See, here's the thing. And I'm glad that we have a message here on YouTube I'll get to in a minute. One of the things that I saw here, and this is on Twitter. So we had somebody tweet at 973 ESPN. I was watching the show earlier. And I want to bring it back up. Touchdown Tommy says, on the point about Howie being the sole problem, Sun Tzu once said that the failings of the subordinates is not the responsibility of the subordinate, but falls squarely on the shoulders of the leader. The problem is that Howie Roseman is not the leader. Howie Roseman doesn't own the organization. That's Jeffrey Lurie. So if you're going to use Sun Tzu, the art of war, Howie's not the leader. The owner of the team is the leader. Now, the fact that we're going to The Art of War by Sun Tzu to have an opinion about Howie Roseman also tells you the level of ridiculousness we've gone to when it comes to this argument about Howie. Are we really taking a book that is half philosophical and half military strategy to have a conversation about a general manager in the year 2021 in the NFL? I'm sorry. I'm not vibing with that. I appreciate the thought. And I love the fact that Touchdown Tommy tweeted at 973 ESPN. But at some point, we got to accept the reality that Howie Roseman is not as good or as bad as anybody says that he is. He's not the villain. He's not Satan. He's a guy. He's a guy who's done good and bad things. For every Lane Johnson, Zach Ertz, Miles Sanders he's drafted, the Eagles have also drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and they've drafted Sidney Jones and Rasul Douglas. For every free agent signing like LeGarrette Blount and Chris Long, you also have some very underwhelming signings. When you think about this team, you realize that they've made mistakes. But to act like Howie Roseman is the villain, that he's Satan, that he's evil, I think it's a bit of a reach, to say the least. Get to your thoughts at 609-403-0973. Don't forget, we got Jason Blevins live from Tampa coming up at 6:20 tonight to get more into the Sixers as they take on the Raptors. Tonight on 97.3 ESPN coverage begins at 7:30. Dan, watching on Twitter, chimes in and says, every time Lurie has hired a head coach, they've had success. Rhodes, Reed, Peterson, why not Sirianni? Now, you left out Chip Kelly. Even he went to the playoffs his first year. Rhodes went through the first year in the postseason. Reed obviously got to a Super Bowl. Peterson won a Super Bowl. Yes, Jeffrey Lurie has had success hiring head coaches. I'm not going to dismiss Sirianni. I'm not one of those guys who sits there and says, Jeffrey Lurie doesn't know what he's doing. I'm not going to sit here and act like Jeffrey Lurie is a genius. Jeffrey Lurie tried to run down his resume at that one press conference like he's trying to prove to everyone how successful and smart he is, which I think in of itself is kind of funny, actually. But yeah, when the dude who has to go up and run down his resume is automatically the guy who is so insecure he's having to try to overcompensate. All right, let's be realistic. So, but again, the head coach situation, I'm not worried about the head coach situation, Dan. I'm with you. Look, let's give Sirianni a chance. Let's see what happens. I'm not sitting here and saying that they can't be successful with a young coach that some people haven't heard of. The NFL, not the NFL, sports are full of coaches you've never heard of who have had success. Look at Tampa tonight, where Jason Blevins is at. The Raptors head coach is Nick Nurse. Nobody outside of the basketball community knew who Nick Nurse was before he got hired by the Raptors, and yet they won a championship with Kawhi. The head coach or the manager in baseball can be a quote-unquote no-name. It doesn't mean that they can't have success. And I'm with you, Dan. Listen, let them see what happens. Let's see what happens with the head coach. I'm completely on board with that. 110%. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget my FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night coming up in about 40 minutes from now. We'll get to my FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night. We went 2-1 on the picks last night, so trying to keep the winning going tonight here on 97.3 ESPN for all of you out there. As I mentioned, Sixers are back in action tonight. We're going to get a full rundown from Jason Blevins down in Tampa. Doc Rivers speaking to the media at the moment, has a lot of interesting things to say about the game tonight. We'll also find out later tonight. Keep it tuned to 97.3 ESPN.com. Because we will have the updates on who makes the All-Star team. We know that Joel Embiid is going to be a starter, but we don't know yet who is going to be off the rest of the team. Now, in the past, the team that leads the conference or has one of the best records in the conference typically has at least two, if not more, players. Now, I'm not going to sit here and think that Doc Rivers is going to do a whole Mike Budenholzer with the Hawks, when basically there was the entire Hawks lineup made it into the All-Star game. I don't think Doc's going to advocate for that at all, but I do think there's a strong possibility that Tobias Harris makes this team, and I think it's a coin flip if Simmons makes it, in my personal opinion, because I look at it like this. Simmons has had a good very good February, but his December and January were all right for his standards. Tobias Harris, from basically the new year to now, has been on fire. And I think that the resume of Tobias Harris is stronger overall than the resume of Ben Simmons. Again, that's just my opinion, my perspective on that. So we will find about that later tonight. And of course, Doc had a lot of things to say here. I'm seeing some of them on Twitter right now. Doc Rivers says he believes the Sixers should have 3 All-Stars, but if he doesn't, he's still more worried about the bigger goal of winning. Quote, we have our eyes a bit bigger. Making the All-Star team is phenomenal, and I do think we should have 3 on there, unquote. That's from Doc Rivers. The problem with the Ben Simmons, again, to me, argument is I look around the Eastern Conference. There's going to be a couple guys who are left off of this team who probably should have been elected to the team, but there are other guys who are probably going to make the team because there will be people who aren't going to participate for injuries or whatever else is going on. You look at Anthony Davis in the Western Conference, for example. He's obviously not going to make it, so I have to put somebody else in his place. How many Celtics are going to make it on the team? You got Tatum, you got Brown out there, you got Trae Young out of Atlanta. He better be on the team. There's a lot of guys who can be on this team. Jeremy Grant in Detroit's having a phenomenal season. What do you do with some of these guys? Colin Sexton's having a good year. Zach LaVine's having a good year. There's a lot of guys in the Eastern Conference that are having very good seasons. And I just think that there's a possibility that the Sixers can't have 3 because there's got to be somebody else who makes it in there under the cut line. So we'll get more into the Sixers coming up next. Jason Blevins live in Tampa will join us coming up next here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, your text messages 609-403-0973. We'll get to those in just a bit as well, including your thoughts on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. All of you watching on 97.3 ESPN, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Game Night being brought to you by Amerisave Mortgage. You won't regret shopping with AmerisaveMortgage.com for lower mortgage rates. It only takes 3 minutes, and Amerisave could save you thousands. Visit them online at Amerisave.com. Amerisave for yourself today. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget Sixers basketball tonight. Taking you on the Raptors right here at 7:30 on 97.3 ESPN. Live from Tampa, Jason Blevins joins us next on the live stream at YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and of course on 97.3 ESPN FM. And don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app for all your Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, Phillies, high school sports, and more, all on the app. And of course, you can listen to all the shows on 97.3 right there on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action. The Flyers host the New York Rangers tomorrow. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. And listen live on the free mobile app.
Hey, Josh. Good. Can you hear me? Hopefully good.
Excludes prior sales. See dealer for details. It's President's Day all month long at Bennett Chevrolet with our biggest, boldest, best deals ever, saving you up to 25% off MSRP on brand new vehicles. Right now, Bennett Chevy is selling brand new vehicles at GM supplier employee pricing. Plus, you keep all the rebates that can save you as much as 25% off MSRP. But there's even more ways to save with 0% financing available. Plus, if you're looking for pre-owned, Bennett will pay you a minimum $7,000 for your trade towards any pre-owned in stock. That's a minimum $7,000 for your trade, no matter its condition. Imagine how much more you'll get for a good trade. And once you've dealt with our non-commissioned sales team, you'll rave about the wonderful experience with no need to negotiate and no hassles, because our team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. It's President's Day all this month at Bennett. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Hey guys, are you afraid of taking off your shirt in public? Don't be embarrassed. Just say, I love Lyle back instead with male breast reduction. Many men develop a fullness in their chest as boys that persists and even worsens as they get older. This condition is called gynecomastia, and with simple liposuction, most cases can be effectively treated. Call 856-MAKEOVER today to schedule your private consultation with Dr. Lyle M. Back. That's 856-MAKEOVER, or visit ILoveLyleBack.com.
A message from your neighbors and friends at First Bank. We've been serving residents and businesses of Seattle City and the surrounding communities for more than 130 years. Today's challenges, while unique, are another opportunity to show our strength and resilience. Our commitment to you remains strong. Whether it's using our drive-through services, bank by phone, the First Bank mobile app, or online banking, we're staying strong with you. Be safe and be secure. First Bank, here for you.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
What's in store this week at Staples?
Everything you need for a totally productive workspace.
Staples has the technology, supplies, and furniture you need to upgrade your workspace at amazing prices.
Like right now, select chairs are 40% off.
Plus, when you buy any office chair, get 25% off all desks, file cabinets, chair mats, bookcases, and lighting purchases.
Shop in store or pick up curbside.
Upgrade your workspace and save at Staples. See staplesconnect.com for details.
Ends 2/27/21. In-store only while supplies last. Curbside available at most stores.
When you support your local small businesses, it helps keep your neighbors employed, helps kids save for college, and strengthens your community. And Town Square Media South Jersey puts local businesses in the spotlight.
Ambient Comfort Heating and Cooling Professionals. AmbientComfortNJ.com.
Filling Marble and Tile Outlet. Philadelphia Avenue and Route 30 in Egg Harbor City. FillingMarble.com.
Dennisville Fence, serving you since 1952. Be the envy of your neighborhood.
Comfort Now by Bob McAllister. Improve the comfort in your home. Call 609-400-1005 and ask about discounts and rebate incentives. Visit IWantComfortNow.com.
East Coast Roofing, Siding and Windows. Services all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up. Call East Coast today at 609-646-1444. Online at eastcoastroofing.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses. From Town Square Media, South Jersey.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get to your texts and messages a little bit later in the hour at 609-403-0973. But right now, we're going to head down to Tampa, where Jason Blevins is live in Tampa for the Sixers versus the Raptors. Of course, our Sixers pregame coverage being brought to you by Trifecta Therapeutics in Glassboro, South Jersey's premier sports rehabilitation and physical therapy center, treating the pros and the Joes. Visit them online at trifectatherapeutics.com. Yes, that is Jason Blevins live on the stream as you watch on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Jason, how's the vibe going down there?
Oh, the vibe. It's fine. The vibe is fine. It's weird because we're in a hockey arena in a town that's never had a basketball team. So it feels a little bit like an afterthought. Everything feels a little bit like an afterthought. So if you see behind me, that is the sort of media eating section. So see Kai, Carlin, and Keith over there. So it's sort of a media workroom / eating area. The reason we're here and not out on the floor is the DJ is playing music for 20,000 people. And Sunday night, my rough estimate is there are about 100 people in this entire building. So that's including players. So the vibe is weird, it's just odd.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you, because, like, again, it's not, as you said, it's not an NBA arena. It's not a place that usually holds basketball games. It's not even a city that usually holds basketball games. So it's just such a strange thing. Like, for me watching on television, like I'm not trying to be mean to them, but you can visually tell on television that this is not an NBA arena.
Yeah, I mean, weird things. Like, I think we got really spoiled with Philadelphia during this pandemic. The one thing about it is our seats got a lot better. We sit in the center court, lower level, and we got here and we're in the hockey box. And if you've been in arenas, you've seen where media sits for hockey games. It's all the way in the rafters. So we're in a building with 100 people, and we're way up high. So it's part of the reason I chose this trip, because it's a weird part of a weird season that we'll look back on in 20 years, hopefully, when everything's back to normal, and think, that's weird. The Raptors had to play an entire season in a hockey arena, right?
Right.
Around palm trees.
And you get to say you were there.
And I can be and I can have a little bit of a firsthand account of that weird thing. Yes.
So let's get into the actual stuff with the Sixers. Obviously, Doc Rivers spoke before you jumped on with me this evening. One of the things he talked about was the All-Star situation, which will be announced later tonight. Doc believes there should be 3, but Jason, I'm thoroughly convinced that I just don't think there will be 3, just because there's so many other players who are in the running for a lot of those reserve spots.
Yeah, I agree with you. I heard you before the break. I think it's going to be Ben instead of Tobias. I think you made a good point about why it should be Tobias, or why it might be. I think Keith and Kai and I on the elevator up here, we had the same discussion. I tend to think, just for franchise reasons, Ben is your second star. So you probably give him the nod. If it's a 50-50 ball, you probably give it to your second star. But Tobias has probably been snubbed before, and it's probably overdue that he get in one of these games. And this is perhaps the best year of his career. So it's definitely a conversation that we're having here in the room. So I heard you talk about it, and I think it's a 50-50 ball. Could go either way.
Jason Blevins joining us here on Game Night live from Tampa for the Sixers Raptors game here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7:30 tonight. Our conversation being brought to you by Trifecta Therapeutics in Glassboro. Jason, now you mentioned about the fact that it's a 50-50. Explain to the audience a little bit about what goes into who picks reserves, because that's the coaches, correct? That's not anybody else.
Yeah, it is. So the coaches are going to weigh things like that fans won't, right? So let's look at, you brought up two names, Colin Sexton and Jeremy Grant. And Jeremy Grant's had a fantastic year. Colin Sexton is putting up numbers, but those two teams are the bottom two teams in the East. And Doc talked about it's not just stats. Sometimes you put up monster stats on a bad team, and you deserve it anyway. So you can make that case for Zach LaVine, Jeremy Grant. You acknowledge the Herculean effort to keep their team competitive on any night. But Doc really talked about putting up stats within the context of winning basketball, and it should be weighted towards the best teams, have the best players, and some of those teams, guys may not put up as many points on a nightly basis as they could on a bad team. So you weigh that whole thing. Coaches also like defense more than fans do. Fans don't, there's not an easy way to measure it. So coaches are going to acknowledge the defensive nightmare maybe that Ben Simmons is. The fact that he can change game plans or he can wreck game plans on the defensive end, I think matters, and I think it doesn't matter as much in fan voting. Obviously, the fan voting was, he wasn't on the top 10. But I think things like that will be acknowledged by coaches.
Now, looking ahead to this game tonight, which you are in Tampa for, Jason, we know no Kyle Lowry tonight. Now, the Raptors do have a history of having success on the court without Lowry, but the majority of that history is with guys like Kawhi Leonard and DeMar DeRozan on the roster. Those guys are no longer in a Raptors uniform. So what can we legitimately expect from the Raptors tonight versus the Sixers?
Well, so they tried Sunday night to go super small. They started with OG Anunoby, took the opening tip. Pascal Siakam was listed as the center because he was the tallest guy at 6'9", but he's 230 pounds or something like that. That didn't work out well at all. The Sixers ran out to a big lead. I think it was 24-9. They were ahead. They were out rebounding the Raptors 15-3. And the Raptors had to put Aaron Baines back into the game, I should say, pretty quickly and go to a more conventional lineup. But what the Raptors did really, really well, I think, and we were talking about it at lunch, is they forced the Sixers to pass and pass and pass and pass. They ran the Sixers off the three-point line, and they created pressure in multiple ways throughout that game by forcing the Sixers to be super patient until late in the shot clock. And then the shot clock became an extra defender for them. So the rhythm that we talk about ball movement, how great it is. There's a point, though, in that last 5 seconds where it becomes hot potato, and the last guy that only has a couple of seconds to shoot doesn't have the comfort level. And I think the Raptors were able to put the Sixers into that situation quite a bit by playing just fantastic recovery defense.
When you mentioned about defense, I want to ask you about that as well, because I feel like the Sixers team, a lot of us talked about heading into the year that Doc Rivers said he wanted to have the number one defense in the league. And so far this year, I would say for the majority of the games, they have played really good defense, but we've seen that wane when it comes to either Embiid or Simmons not being in the lineup. Talk about how important it is to have both Simmons and Embiid in the lineup. I know it's only two guys, but I feel like when I'm watching a Sixers game, it feels like those two guys have a massive impact on the defensive end when they're on the court versus either one of them not being on the court.
They do. I think they change how teams play, and I think, Dwight Howard gets in foul trouble enough that I think the refs are already looking for it. He's super strong, so every player that he touches sort of goes flying a little bit. So all contact is very obvious. And I think foul trouble becomes an issue for the team when those two aren't on the floor. But I just think the confidence, it's always been an issue. The downside of a Joel Embiid is the other team breathes a sigh of relief when he walks to the bench. And that just makes it hard on the backup center because confidence, comfort, all of those things are psychological factors that, how many backup centers are going to be able to keep the pressure on and keep these, the best 450 players in the world from getting comfortable. So I can't blame Dwight. We've seen backup after backup after backup just struggle. And Dwight's probably been the best. But you got two of the best 5 defenders in the NBA on the team. The team's going to be just much better when they're on the floor.
Jason Blevins joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Follow him on Twitter at jblevins for all your Sixers and NBA coverage. Joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Now, looking ahead as well for the Sixers, obviously this is a back-to-back games for them. What adjustments do you expect to see from the first game to the second game for the Sixers?
Well, you would expect Embiid to not go 9 for 28 or 9 for 20 or 6 for 20, I think. Sorry, I should know that. I did know it 2 nights ago. I think he went 6 for 20. He missed a lot of the face-up jumpers that he had made on Friday night. So you have to expect that to even out a little bit. You also, I think, some of this is. I think they should try more Tobias Harris initiating pick and roll with Ben as a roll man. I didn't see a lot of that on Sunday night. I think they should be in Ben's ear to keep his foot on the gas. He only attempted 3 shots in the second half after a really good first half, putting pressure on the rim, making the Raptors pay for going small. They need to keep that up. Those are all things that, they're not so much adjustments. They should keep doing the good stuff and trust that some of the other stuff, like the really bad nights from Embiid and Tobias Harris, will not recur tonight.
Moving forward for the Sixers, obviously a topic for them, and lately has been a lot about the potential of them making a trade, making an acquisition. I've heard every name at this point, from Kyle Lowry to Blake Griffin to DeMarcus Cousins. Now that he's a release guy, I feel like anybody who's been named has been rumored for the Sixers. So let's live in reality, Jason, because reality is where sports actually occurs. So who are realistic options for the Sixers as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline and the buyout?
So I think they should be more aggressive. I heard from some unnamed NBA GMs who think it's going to be a soft trade market, and there might not be that much movement just because of the uncertainty of the season. I think the Sixers should be ultra aggressive in that. If that's the case around the league, they should counter that with more aggression. I don't think they can wait for the buyout market because I don't think they have the minutes and the clear role to offer a team the same way that Boston or certainly Brooklyn. Brooklyn has a ton of minutes to offer a buyout candidate. So you can't sit back and wait for JJ Redick or Bielitsa or any of these guys to just hit the market, because the Nets can offer them more minutes. So how do you fix that situation? And to me, it's a consolidation trade where you take some of these role players, you package them together to match salary on a big swing, a home run swing for a star player, which does 2 things. It gets you more top end talent, but it opens up minutes to offer for someone in the buyout market. So I think they should be extra aggressive. I think they should overpay if they have to. because I think when there are multiple reasons to do something, I think now you have to really just consider doing it. It's not just one reason why you push your chips into the table. Ask Toronto. We're about to play in an arena that Toronto is in. Ask Toronto if they would take back the Kawhi Leonard trade. They definitely would do it 100 times out of 100, even though he walked in free agency. You push your chips in the table. Daryl Morey is on record as saying if you have a 5% chance at a ring, you push your chips into the table. Well, this team has a 5% chance. So I think they should. I don't think they should be conservative. I don't think they should worry about winning a trade. I think they should be tolerant to having fans think they gave up too much. I think they should be tolerant to the narrative that will come. The Sixers gutted their depth to get a star. Right? That was the narrative when Brooklyn made the Harden deal. They should be tolerant to all of that negativity because I think it opens up options in the buyout market.
Now, of course, we also give it. Toronto also acquired Marc Gasol at the deadline too, so they didn't just go get Kawhi. They also got Gasol during the year, so that's a team that did more than just one deal to get to where they got. Speaking of Daryl Morey, if Daryl Morey came to you tonight and asked you, Jason, I need you to make a case for me for one guy I have to go get to make this team better, who would that guy be and why?
It'd be Zach LaVine. So it's that I would push the chips in on a guy's 20. Is he 25 yet? I'm not sure he's 25 yet. He plays the combo guard role. He's a guy that would prefer, I think, to play shooting guard. He's got the size, 6'6". I think he's a fantastic theoretical fit next to both Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. He doesn't take minutes away from Tobias Harris. It all, to me, makes sense on paper, on a shot chart, where they get their shots from, how he attacks. I think he and Joel Embiid are close. I think they have a significant mutual respect. So that would be the guy I would say sell out, go get the guy. I think he only makes $19 million, which makes it super easy to match the salaries. So, and we know Daryl Morey doesn't really like his own draft picks anyway. So push him in, go for it.
Yeah, that contract is a big deal also because Kyle Lowry, who makes $30.5 million, so obviously going to get LaVine would be a lot more cost effective. I think it's Danny Green that makes just over 15, so that obviously can make some numbers work. We got a text you as a question here. Well, more of a question than a comment, but I'll ask you a question off of it. Dan EHC texted in to the show and says the NBA should expand all-star rosters. Current roster limits are stupid. So, Jason, why are the roster limits so confined by the league? Like, are they just upset with trying to make it exclusive?
Yeah, if everybody's an all-star, no one is. I mean, expand the all-star roster for what?
Well, a lot of people say maybe you should do it like to 14.
Why? You're only going to play 10. In a basketball game, you only play 10 players anyway. So, I mean, you want to compare eras, right? You want to say X player was a 10-time all-star. Well, if you increase the amount of all-star players every year, it waters down that sort of stat. So if you want to say, I don't know, Michael Jordan was a 10-time all-star, probably more than that. But, you start letting borderline guys in, it becomes just a participation trophy. Maybe you have another metric. You're like, anyone that scores over 22 points a game gets to go to the All-Star game.
Well, maybe that could be the exception rule because there are sometimes that guys who lead the league in scoring have not made it to the All-Star game in the past. So maybe there could be an exception rule to say, listen, if there's a guy who leads the league in scoring but he doesn't get selected in, maybe he automatically gets it or some wacky exception like that.
Yeah, I like the exclusivity of it. but I'd be lying if I told you I watch the All-Star game very often. I don't, so I don't, you know.
See, to me, I think the NBA All-Star game, their product as an All-Star game is the best of the four sports right now.
I agree entirely.
And that's the only reason why I actually care about it, because to me, the Pro Bowl's a joke. Hockey, right. they changed the format so much I don't even know what the format would be anymore.
Right.
And in baseball, I feel like that the home run derby is way more interesting than the game itself, especially considering the fact that there are so many times that the best All-Star game moments to me for baseball when guys were mic'd up. But unless you're gonna mic everybody up, I got to lose a little bit of interest. So for the NBA, I feel like it's the most closest to the game, and it's the most intimate in terms of the realistic belief that these are the best players in the game.
I totally agree. When you said the moments in the All-Star game for baseball, I thought of Randy Johnson pitching to John Kruk, and John Kruk going like, no, I'll just take the strikeout. No, not dealing with that. Lefty on lefty, 6'10", 3/4. No, you know what? Not worth it. I'll just take my L and go back to the dugout. I agree. The NBA is the best product as far as watchability for the game. But it's still a weird thing. Like, no one is incentivized to really, I don't know. There's some interesting one-on-one moments, Embiid guarding Paul George, I think, a few years ago in isolation out beyond the arc. If you love lob dunks and fast break dunks, it's great. But I don't know. I wish I could spend more time thinking about it. Give you a better answer.
By the way, our 97.3 ESPN.com's own Frank Close did agree with you. The Kruk at bat was classic. So there you go.
Yeah. To me, it's the number one moment that jumps out in All-Star game history, probably.
One of my favorite moments was when Barry Bonds got robbed by Torrey Hunter of a home run. And Torrey Hunter coming in, and Barry Bonds picks him up and starts carrying him off the field. Like, no, you're coming with me. I'm getting you off the field. So, but
it's funny.
Outside of small moments, baseball doesn't have a ton of great all-star moments that makes it. That's what I love about the baseball all-star game.
Yeah. Now, did Barry Bonds decide that night that he had to go put on 20 pounds of muscle?
It's called the cream.
He's like, you know what? If I could have hit it 3 more feet.
The cream in the clear, man. The cream in the clear.
Okay.
He's Jason Blevins. Follow him on Twitter at J Blevins NBA. All of his Sixers coverage over at 97.3 ESPN.com. And as all guests, he appear on the Boardwalk on the Hotline live from Tampa, where the Sixers are playing the Raptors, because only in 2021 is an NBA game being played in an arena that was not made for basketball. Jason, I appreciate you jumping on tonight.
Hey, thanks, Josh. Good to see you.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, our Sixers pregame coverage being brought to you by Trifecta Therapeutics in Glassboro, South Jersey's premier sports rehabilitation and physical therapy center, treating the pros and the Joes. Visit them online at trifectatherapeutics.com. We'll get back to more of your thoughts and texts and comments, 609-403-0973. Also, all of you watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you can comment on the stream as well, just as Frank Close and Dan have so far tonight here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Plus, my FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night is still to come as well here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, where you can listen to all the shows right there on the app. Sports Batch with Mike Gill, Game Night with me, Josh Hennig, The Locker Room with Billy Schweim, and more, all on the app, as well as our Phillies, Sixers, Flyers, Eagles coverage, and high school sports, all on the app, 97.3 ESPN.com as well.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Giroux steps by him and scores it up and good. What a move. Are you kidding me?
The Sixers are in Tampa to face the Raptors. Tonight, coverage begins at 7:30. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
If you're an athlete or live an active lifestyle, aches and pains can be part of the game. That's where Trifecta Therapeutics comes into play. Trifecta Therapeutics is a premier sports rehabilitation physical therapy center located centrally for anyone in South Jersey, right in Glassboro. Their team of the highest skilled docs takes a unique approach to physical therapy and rehab, whether you're a weekend warrior or a finely tuned athlete. They treat the pros and the Joes. To find out more about Trifecta Therapeutics and how they can help you, check out trifectatherapeutics.com.
This month, let me offer you some presidential advice. Leave your dollar in your wallet when you get 0% APR financing from Matt Blatt Kia.
Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you out of that old car you hate. Come in today or visit us online and get the credit you deserve. 0% APR financing available for up to 60 months on new 2021 Kia Sportage, K5, and Forte models. Or take $4,000 off MSRP on new 2020 Kia Niros in stock. Plus, Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River and Egg Harbor Township wants your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers for Tier 1 and 2 credit for Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1516 per 1,000 power. 4,000 all 2020 euros with 2,500 Kia Motors factory rebate to dealer. 1,500 Matt Blatt Kia discount. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 3/4/2021.
Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Toms River.
What do you get when you talk to a Dell Technologies advisor? You get someone who understands there's an art to listening. Who's able to hear more than what's being said and can provide tailored small business solutions that make you feel truly heard.
I understand. Let's get started.
For advice on everything from laptops to the cloud and solutions powered by Intel vPro platform, call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL.
KFC's Colonel Sanders here. We all love sitting down to a home-cooked meal with family, but there's rarely enough hours in the day to do the cooking. So let me do the cooking for you. Well, not me personally, that's just a turn of phrase. Your KFC will do the actual cooking. The point is, let someone else do the home cooking for you. Come to KFC and pick up a $20 fill-up. That's 8 pieces of chicken or 12 tenders and all the fixings to feed your family. Order ahead at KFC.com. Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. $20 fill-up not available with delivery. Tax and substitutions extra. Delivery service and additional fees may apply.
When's the last time you looked at your bathroom? Second thought, you might not want to make eye contact with that old faucet. It's time to head to Lowe's for some home improvement. Choose from stylish brands like American Standard, Delta, and Style Selections, and transform your before bathroom into an amazing after bathroom. Woohoo! You can't see her, but she's high-fiving herself. Don't just do it yourself. Do it for yourself. Stop by Lowe's or visit lowes.com/DIFY for vanities starting at $99. Valid through 3/31 U.S. only.
What you doing? Designing my new 2021 Nissan Kicks online in the Kicks Color Studio. I give each a special name. This one's electric blue, orange, red, white. I call it the gumball machine. You think it's me?
I feel like you're more of a red velvet guy.
Limitless possibilities. With over 100 million available color combinations and Bose Personal Plus system in the boldly new 2021 Nissan Kicks. Bose is a registered trademark of the Bose Corporation. Color combinations include interior and exterior colors. Customization is an available feature subject to availability at participating Nissan dealers. See dealer for details.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget Sixers basketball coming up tonight at 7:30 on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, Game Night being brought to you by my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Listen, I know I've told you guys a lot about the same game parlays, the same game parlay insurance, risk-free bets up to $1,000 if you use promo code Hennig when you sign up. But let me tell you something about this FanDuel Sportsbook. Listen, I've used a lot of sportsbook apps. I've tried them all. I've given my own opinions. People about asking me, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Well, let me tell you something. FanDuel Sportsbook, they're not only offering you deals just for new users, okay? You get great odds boosts, great opportunities, great things through the sportsbook, even if you are an existing user. That same game parlay insurance, if you're already an existing user, you get that same game parlay insurance built in as an existing user, not just for new users. Also, the app interface doesn't look like it's 10 years old. It doesn't get sluggish or slow on you like a certain couple other apps do. Also, the interface is friendly, it's easy to use. It's not made for some, savant when it comes to your phone or a website. No, FanDuel Sportsbook is everything you want for friendly, easy access. It's quick, it's simple, and it's great to use. It's what I use, and you could use it too. FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up, use promo code Hennig for that risk-free bet up to $1,000 with FanDuel Sportsbook. And my FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night is also coming up in just a bit here on 97.3 ESPN. We got a couple texts that came in at 609-403-0973. I did want to get to a couple of your texts as well on your messages as you watch on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at 973 ESPN. I'm trying to get the one posted in here. Here we go. All right. Texter chimes in on the text board. Pop it up on the screen here for you guys watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. It says, if the new coaches for the Eagles, inexperienced as they may be, are successful in developing young talent on the team, it's Howie Roseman's job to recruit, not develop that talent, as I see it, says the texter. So here's the thing. I agree with you. I agree that, listen, it's the GM's job to go out and get the talent. All right. I totally agree with you, texter, on that. The problem is that people don't like Howie Roseman. See, you texter are being objective when you say if the new coaches, it's on them to develop the talent. It's Howie Roseman's job to build the team, to recruit it, not develop the talent. That's a logical explanation. The problem is that a lot of people who don't like Howie Roseman are illogical. They just dislike the guy for the sake of disliking him. They're completely and utterly just irrational about it. And there's nothing I can do about that. And that's why I say so many times we project our own feelings on things onto situations instead of being objective. Now, I get accused sometimes for being too objective, that I'm not subjective enough. And you know what? That's my flaw. Okay, that's who I am. So, and I like this text here. Yes, it's Howie Roseman's job to build the roster and give the coaches, the players, and the pieces to win and be successful. That's what it comes down to. I agree 100%. And listen, what if those coaches go out there and they get the most out of Jalen Reagor and he ends up being a great wide receiver for this organization? What if Jalen Hurts goes out there and this team overachieves and they win 9 games next year? What are we going to say then? Is Howie Roseman still an idiot and not a football guy and all that kind of stuff? Again, we pick and choose when we want to like and dislike people. It's a good text there by the texter at 609-403-0973. All right, as promised, FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night. We went 2-1 last night on the picks. We had the under on the Rockets Bulls game. We had the over on the Wendell Carter rebounds. What we got wrong was the points. Eric Gordon went 1 for 10 from 3. That was horrible. So I tried to give you a couple more winners for tonight. So here's the picks for tonight. I'm going with Portland at Denver, and here's why. Denver has Paul Millsap, Gary Harris, and PJ Dozier all ruled out for this game tonight. So all three of those guys who are major, well, at least in Harris and Millsap's case, major contributors, and Dozier was the guy who filled in when Harris and Bart were out earlier in the year. All of them are out. I have no idea why Portland is still a +6 underdog. I feel like they're literally only setting that line because they're going by records. They're not going by the actual game in front of them. Now, of course, I understand 3 players who are role players are not a huge swing when it comes to a point spread. All right, I get that. But Portland and Denver are only separated by a couple games in the standings. And I think this is going to be a closer than a 6+ point spread. So give me Portland on the +6. My other pick for tonight is Michael Porter over 13.5. I understand he's had he's had a major time struggling from shooting the last 3 games. I would know. He's on my fantasy basketball team. Okay. But listen to me. When you have Millsap and Harris out, somebody has to get the buckets. I'm taking Porter the 13.5. And if you want one more for those of you out there who do play fantasy sports DFS, as long as JaMychal Green still plays tonight, he's currently listed as day-to-day. He is the primary fill-in for Paul Millsap. Take him in the DFS. He'd be a great value, as well as Michael Porter Jr. Those are my picks for tonight, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, wrapping up the show. Don't forget tonight, Sixers basketball, 7:30 here on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers and the Raptors down in Tampa. No Kyle Lowry tonight for the Raptors. Also, it looks like Seth Curry is a no-go for the 76ers. So, got a little news there on that front with these teams. Interesting to see what happens with that team tonight. Because, listen, you had a lead in Sunday. You lost the lead. Now you got to find a way to kind of redeem yourself. Kind of get it back up and going. By the way, Shams Charania is reporting that your Eastern Conference reserves, this is before the announcement, Ben Simmons is on the team. Tobias Harris isn't. That is the projected, according to Shams. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night.
Sign up now for this year's $1 Million Bracket Challenge. Registration is underway now at 973ESPN.com and the free mobile app until the tournament begins. The listener whose bracket has the most correct will win a $500 golden getaway in Atlantic City. Thanks to our friends at GoldenNuggetSports.com. And the top 20 listener brackets will receive a free bed at GoldenNuggetSports.com. So register for the $1 Million Bracket Challenge.
Hell yeah!
Now at 973ESPN.com or the free mobile app. Must be 21 plus to place a bet. Only available in New Jersey. Free bets are for online sportsbook only. Please see website for terms and conditions.
A national championship.
So head to 973ESPN.com or the free mobile app and register for the $1 Million Bracket.